going to start off the demo covering how to do bulk sync for the iPhone here, and then we'll move on to demonstrating how to do push for BlackBerry. Okay, so I have two applications here. I have the store server application, which we covered in a previous webinar, which is basically a product inventory application. It has a product adapter which queries our RowStore Rails application for products. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up this this application for doing bulk sync. And in this case, on the server side, the only thing that I have to do to set this up for bulk sync is I have to specify a queue. Now, the way that RowSync does bulk sync and other what we call asynchronous tasks is it uses the rescue background job system. And rescue works by specifying a queue for the job that you want to perform, and then it will execute the job using a worker. So what we do here is we specify this queue product, which means that any worker that is listening for the product queue will be able to execute this this job. And that's all we have to do on the server. So I just started up like I would normally start at my RowSync server, except there's going to be one extra step. And I use the detach here so I can break out of it. It's still running. And then what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start a rescue worker. If you haven't looked at rescue already, I would highly recommend it. Their project is on GitHub. It's also linked from our wiki page for RowSync. Yeah, there's lots of information there about how to run rescue, how to customize, and things like that. And I'm just going to turn on some verbose logging. So what I'll do here is I'll start one worker. Now I've got one worker running, listening for all queues. I could have specified the product queue here if I wanted to, but in this case I just want this worker to do everything. And that's it. So my server is now ready to go. So now in the Rows application, I need to also enable the bulk sync feature. And I do that by setting the bulk sync state property here. So what this property does is it tells the Rows application I'm going to use the bulk sync feature every time I synchronize. So in this case I set it to 0, which means that bulk sync has not run yet. And you can find more information about what this property does also on the Rows spec. So you can, for example, in your code you could programmatically turn this on or off. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is run the iPhone. Now the important thing to note here is I haven't actually had to change anything in my application, both on the Rows side or the RowSync side. All I did was configure the bulk sync feature. This is important because you can execute your source adapter either synchronously when a client or device makes a request, or you could set it up to synchronize asynchronously, where it runs inside of this this rescue job. But in both cases, it's executing the same code, it's going through the same workflow, so your application doesn't need to change. So the first time I build here, because I just installed this the latest version of Rows, it takes a little bit to compile and set up. And while that's still launching, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to look at my RowSync logs as well by reattaching the console. And This way I'll be able to see when the device actually connects. And one thing else you need to check here is it's going to connect to localhost, which is fine. So now I'll go ahead and start it up. Oops. And I can log in with any username and password. As we talked about previously, RoSync authentication, by default, it just returns true. So it doesn't matter in this case what I log in with. So now you can see what happens is the client logs in, and then it asks for bulk data. And once the bulk data is finished, it goes ahead and downloads the file. And I have my products. So to kind of summarize here, what's happening is the device will poll the RoSync server for bulk data information, and what happens on the server is if there is no bulk data file available, it will queue up a rescue job, and then it will return a wait command to the client. So what you see here is you see two requests where it received this wait command, and then the third request is where it actually downloads the zip file. We download the bulk data file in zip format. And then what will happen is that zip file will get unzipped, and the Rhodes application will load it as it would a local database, except this database was prepared on the server. So that is the bulk data feature, and you can see here now if I was to click sync again, the device would actually not ask for bulk data. It would just say, okay, I want to do a normal sync. In this case, it just gets no changes because it's already downloaded the full data set. So what I was going to show you here is also I can programmatically trigger another bulk sync. So what I'll do inside of my settings controller is I'm going to add another action here. And I'll just use this similar structure here as do sync, except I'll call it do bulk sync. And then I'll add an action to my controller called do bulk sync. And what I want to do is I want to set this property, bulk sync state, back to 0. Now when I do sync engine do sync, it will trigger a bulk sync. And we'll give it a message. And we'll redirect back to the index page. So this will be useful if your application expects to have lots of data changing. Let's say in the course of a day, the product catalog adds tens of thousands of records. You can do a check inside your application and say, okay, the last time this application synced was 2 weeks ago. I better do a bulk sync because it's going to take a really long time to update all these product changes. Okay, so that looks like it's good. I'll go ahead and launch it again. There we go. And what you see here is the client made another bulk data request since I triggered a bulk sync. And another important thing here is in my RoSync application, the default period of time that this file should be alive is for 1 hour. So because I triggered this bulk sync within the same hour, it actually downloaded the exact same file. So no rescue job was triggered. and it didn't recreate a new file. So you can configure that on the server inside of the settings file. There is a bulk sync poll interval. Just bring that up here so I don't get a typo on it. So I can set the bulk sync poll interval actually here. I can set it to, let's say, 1800 seconds or half an hour instead of the default 3600. So then what would happen is if the device were to connect and it had been more than half an hour, it would trigger another rescue job and create a new bulk data file. And you can tell also these bulk data files are timestamped. So if you want to have a cron job or other utilities that monitor the files, you can easily tell when the file was created. They're also set up here, since I logged in with the user A, the name of the file includes the username, so you can tell even the last time this data file was created for a specific user. So that is the bulk sync feature. Over the next few weeks or so, we're going to be including some more examples using bulk sync, and we'll be uploading them onto our GitHub repository. Right now, you can go, if you go to our GitHub roamable account, there is a store application and then a store server bulk application. Both of those use the bulk sync feature.